Hello and welcome to Mr. Paul's Pantry. I'm Mr. Paul. If you're new, a very warm welcome. If you're returning, nice to see you again. Now today's recipe is for Millionaires Shortbread, sometimes called caramel squares. What it is, it's a layer of my famous Scottish all butter shortbread, topped with a layer of caramel and topped with a layer of chocolate on top. It really is very, very decadent. So it's very, very hot in my kitchen this morning. It's early, it's 38 degrees already, and I want to get on with it straight away. So let's do it. Right, so here we have the ingredients for this Millionaire Shortbread, also known as Caramel Shortbread squares. First of all, for the shortbread, we have some flour, some butter and some sugar. Now the whole recipe will be, and ingredients, will be underneath the video. Everybody calls it the description box. I can never see anything called a description box. Probably you'll know better than I do. If you click where it says show more, it will open up and show you my ingredients. Okay, show more, not description box. Here we are then. So the flour for my shortbread, I have 375 grams of plain flour, not self-raising. That's plain flour or all-purpose flour. Here we have some butter, and I'm using unsalted butter, 250 grams. If you use salted butter, you won't need to add the pinch of salt afterwards, okay? And the sugar is 125 grams of ordinary white sugar. It's a very simple recipe to remember and to change up or down. It's a recipe 1, 2, 3. So it's 1 measure of that, 2 measures of that, and 3 measures of that. Okay? But I've got mine in grams underneath. And of course, if you're using salted butter, you won't need to use this, but I'm going to use a pinch of salt because mine is unsalted butter. And for the caramel, we've got 4 ingredients here now, and we have some brown sugar. I'm using muscovado sugar, and that is 100 grams. I've also got 100 grams of butter. I've got 1 tin, you can get different size tins, but this tin has 397 grams of condensed milk. That's sweetened condensed milk. That's not evaporated milk. It's condensed, it's thick, and it's creamy, and it's very sweet. And I also have some chocolate there. I'm using these buttons because they're easier to melt. I buy them by the kilo, but you can just break up any bar of chocolate and melt it, and that's for your topping. But those 3 ingredients here are for the caramel. That's sugar, butter and the condensed milk with some chocolate to finish it off. So let's get on with it. I'll make the shortbread first, okay? Now today I'm going to use my food mixer simply because my arthritis is not so good today in my hands. So first of all, we're going to add the softened butter, and I must stress it has to be soft, room temperature at least. Okay, it must be soft. And we're going to add on top of that the sugar, and we're going to mix that until it's nice and light and fluffy. Excuse the noise. Just takes a couple of minutes, it won't be very long. Now if you're mixing this by hand, you do it with a wooden spoon, might take a little bit longer. So there we are now. You can see in there. I'm going to add in the flour now. and my pinch of salt, a good pinch of salt, and give it another mix. Once it gets to that crumbly stage, looking a little bit like breadcrumbs, it will be only a few seconds now before it all goes together. You'll see it just going together. There you are, it's all left the sides now. The bowl is nice and clean, and you can see the consistency of it. There we are. Just take that off the blender, the beater should I say. And there's the paste as we're going to use it. It's nice and soft, pliable, and we'll put it in the tin. Now I have a tin here. I've lined it with some greaseproof paper. It's the size of it is 25 centimeters by 18. Ideally you should have a square one. I haven't got a square one today. I've gone somewhere, I can't find it. I normally have a 8 or 9 inch square one, but this is a small roasting tin that I'm using, and I've just buttered the inside so that the greaseproof paper sticks down a little bit. And now we're going to add the paste. Add the paste into the tin. We're going to push it down evenly all over, as long as we can get a nice even coating on the base of the tin. Here we are. That's all ready to go into the oven now, and it's going to go in at 160 for about 30 minutes. We need to cook it until it just starts going brown on top. We don't want to brown it too much. Right, here we are with the finished product. It's nicely coloured on top, and all we have to do now is to let it cool, and in the meantime I'm going to make the caramel. Right, now for the caramel, the first thing you need is a spatula with either a flat end like that or on an angle like that, because you need to be able to keep cleaning the bottom of the pan, because it's very susceptible to sticking, and we don't want that. If you start sticking, you get little brown burnt bits, and they'll all be mixed in with the caramel, and it will look not very nice. So I'm using a wooden spatula. It's got a square end, and that means it will go in all the corners and along the flat bottom. So we need to put this on a medium heat, like that, medium heat, and first of all we're going to add the butter. And next, we don't want that on too high a heat. We want to just melt the butter and incorporate it with the sugar. Now this is a very simple operation, but it does require some patience. You can't speed this up by turning up the heat. You'll ruin everything. Just keep going until all the sugar is incorporated in with the butter. And when we've got to this stage, we're going to add the condensed milk. Make sure you get every drop out, and just to make sure I do, I'm going to use my silicone spatula, excuse my back of my hand. I can't get at the pan any other way because the camera's in the way. So there we are. All incorporate that now. And we need to bring that to a gentle boil. Now once you see it start bubbling around the edge, you can see that. Now it's very, very hot, this sugar, so don't put your hands near it. But you can see turn it down now to a lowish heat. And we're going to leave that to bubble away until it thickens. This will take about 10 to 15 minutes. You can't rush this at all. I'll show you the consistency. When it gets to the right consistency, I will show you how it should look, and I will tell you exactly how long it's taken me to get it to that. I've got the timer going now it's boiling, so it will tell me exactly how long it's got to cook for. Now it's boiling away nicely, as you can see. Keeping it on the move. I'm afraid I've done the thing I told you not to do, and I've let it catch a little on the bottom. Halfway through this the telephone went, and I didn't I just automatically went to answer it. I should have left it alone, and you will see some little specks in there where it caught on the bottom whilst I was on the phone. Sorry about that, but I haven't any more condensed milk to make a second batch, and I'll just have to live with it. I think you will be able to see those in the pan. Hopefully they won't be too noticeable in the finished caramel. Now it's bubbling away. It's been at the moment about 7 minutes. So I'm just going to leave it a little longer now. It needs to thicken up a little bit more. It will thicken much and set when it cools, of course. But if we do it, pour it in too soon, it will just stay liquid like that, like dulce leche, which when you start to try and cut it into squares, you'll have a terrible mess. So another 3 or 4 minutes and we should be all right there. So now we need to do the chocolate to finish off the Millionaires Shortbread. So we need a bowl over a simmering pan of water. Make sure the bowl does not touch the water, otherwise you'll ruin the chocolate. Pop your chocolate into the bowl. Don't be tempted to do like some videos tell you, to melt your chocolate in the microwave. It's such an easy to spoil, and it's an expensive item, and it only needs 2 or 3 seconds and the chocolate gets burnt. This way it can't get burnt, providing you don't let the bowl touch the water. Just leave it there, don't mess about with it, and it will start and melt. Once it's melted, we can pour it on top of the shortbread. Now, as I said earlier in the video, I'm using these little chocolate buttons. This is how we in the bakery buy chocolate. It's made like these little buttons because they melt very quickly and you can measure them out easily. You can weigh them out. You don't have to start breaking anything. But if you just want to use an ordinary bar of chocolate, take it, break it into small pieces and do exactly what I'm doing here. Now, when the chocolate's melted, we're just going to pour it straight on top of the caramel. Use a silicone spatula to make sure you get every little bit out. And then we're just going to spread it nice and evenly over the surface. Into the corner, all the corners, and I'm going to just now give it a tap on the bench to let any bubbles come to the surface, and we'll just let that set, and when it's all set we'll cut it and I'll show you what it looks like inside. So here we are now, the chocolate's set. We're going to lift it out of the tin. And I think it's time to portion it up. So we're going to portion it now. I'll do it in half first. Just push it straight down, and then we'll do that in half there. And that in half there. Turn it round. And we'll do that. And that. That. And that. I've cracked that one. Never mind. Never mind. There we are. There is the beautiful Millionaires Shortbread with the shortbread underneath, a nice generous layer of caramel topped by the chocolate. Well, if you've enjoyed this video, go below, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to leave any comments, I'll be very pleased to read them. If you haven't subscribed, press the subscribe button, and don't forget the little bell at the side. If you click that, you'll be informed every time I put up a new video. This is Mr. Paul saying bye for now, and I'll see you next time.